Alrighty then, we should be live. What is up, guys? Chase Oliver here, bringing you another classic pay-per-view review to my channel. Now, originally, I did do this review just like as a normal video, like I normally do with all my other classic pay-per-view reviews, but I said screw it. SummerSlam 2002 is one of the best events in the last decade. It's true. If you look from 2000 to 2009, look at that decade, it has to be one of the top 5 pay-per-views of all time in that decade. And I said, you know what? Instead of just doing a regular review on this channel, I want to do a live review. I want to talk about how good this event is, so that way you people can also interact with me and see if you guys agree with me, because this is my favorite SummerSlam. This is the best SummerSlam, to me, at least, when it comes down to it. But I'm not alone here to talk about this SummerSlam. I also have fellow YouTuber of the YWC, Chris Phoenix here. Chris, how's it going?
Doing pretty good, Chase. How about you?
I'm doing really good, ready to talk about SummerSlam 2002, and if you guys are watching this via the archive, that is cool. And also with my camera, I don't know what's going on with my camera. If you see it's blurry sometimes, for some reason Google Plus decided to make my camera blurry. It's normally never this blurry, but Google Plus decided to do that, so I have no control of what Google Plus wants to do. But anyways, let's talk about SummerSlam 2002. SummerSlam 2002 pretty much was a huge event for the company. The main event of the evening was going to be Brock Lesnar versus The Rock for the WWE Championship. Another big thing that was coming into SummerSlam 2002 was the return of the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. After 4 years of being gone from the industry, he retired in 1998 after his broken back. He came back and he was going to fight his former best friend Triple H in an unsanctioned street fight. But we kicked off the night of SummerSlam 2002 with a very good opener between Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio recently just debuted into the WWE, people. Like, Rey Mysterio was just fresh to the WWE fans' minds. Like, a lot of WCW fans, they knew who Rey Mysterio was, but not a lot of WWE fans knew who Rey Mysterio was. And he was taking on Kurt Angle in a good opening match. And this match was a showcase for Rey Mysterio. I mean, Kurt Angle was in there to make Rey Mysterio look legit. That's the reason why they put Kurt Angle with Rey Mysterio. I mean, Kurt Angle is an Olympic gold medalist, multiple-time world champion for the WWE/WWF. So they gave this match to Rey Mysterio to showcase abilities and showcase that Rey Mysterio is a tough superstar. You know, that's what this match was all about. It's a very good opening match. And when it comes to Rey Mysterio matches, when my friends want to watch a Rey Mysterio match, I show them this one, because this shows how legit Rey Mysterio was as a superstar for the company in the future. You know, Rey, would he have ever been a main eventer? That, you know, time would only tell if he could have ever reached that spot, broken the glass ceiling, and become the world champion. But Kurt and Rey put on a really good match. Angle wins via the ankle lock. It doesn't hurt Rey Mysterio whatsoever, because, like I said, this whole match, it was pretty much a showcase for him. He looked dominant. Sometimes he would reverse some of Kurt's best moves. So in all honesty, this made Rey Mysterio look legit, even though he did tap out. And plus, Kurt Angle, you're building him back up to the main event scene and building him back up to hopefully challenge for the WWE Championship later that year. So you know what? It is what it is. So Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, to me, really good opening match. Chris, what did you think about this matchup?
Well, I think you already kind of touched the surface of what I was going to talk about. But like you say, it was a really good match. You know, I think I'll clear myself. I didn't really watch all that much WCW as a kid, so this was like one of the first times I believe I ever saw Rey Mysterio in a match. So when I saw Rey versus Kurt, I was like, well, I heard this Rey Mysterio guy's really good, and I knew that obviously Kurt Angle was very talented. So, you know, watching this match was like, wow, this is really good. You know, Kurt's making him look good. You know, Kurt's already good in general, so I don't know if that you could say that Rey's making him look good. But, you know, with that being said, it was a good overall match, especially a good, you know, curtain jerker, you know, very good opening match. And, you know, it made, you know, even though, like you said, he did tap out, obviously, to ankle lock. And it's, to me, there's just, like, for Kurt Angle's sake, if you ever tap out to his ankle lock, to me, it doesn't make you look weak because of how well and how precise he makes it look.
Exactly.
Yeah, along with the fact that, you know, he's made practically like everyone. I mean, he made God tap out to the freaking ankle from the above. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that, you know, he looked like, even though he did tap out, he still looked like $1 million. And, you know, you could tell that Rey Mysterio was probably going to have a bright future later on down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Rey Mysterio was not hurt by losing this matchup to Kurt Angle whatsoever. And now let's move on to the next matchup. And after I name these 3 opening matchups, I gotta say something about these next 3 opening matchups. Okay. So the next matchup, we had Ric Flair take on Chris Jericho, and this was coming off of a feud where, you know, Jericho pretty much was done with Triple H, And then this led to Jericho and Flair feuding. You know, Ric Flair turned babyface to attack Chris Jericho to help Triple H out. And so pretty much Ric Flair and Chris Jericho decided to feud. This was a fun matchup, especially for Ric Flair. I don't think it's the best Flair match you'll ever see, nor will it be the best Jericho match you'll see, but it's a good matchup. It's really funny when Ric Flair does all the dirty moves on Chris Jericho and the fans just fucking cheer, and then Jericho tries to do the same dirty moves, and the fans are all booing Chris. They're like, what the hell are you doing, Jericho? Come on, Jericho. That ain't right. That ain't right, Jericho. What are you doing? Like, they were just booing him, and Jericho was kind of getting upset with the fans, kayfabe-wise. He was like, I'm doing the same thing as him. Come on, cheer for me. But this was a good matchup, you know, just to prove who was the better man. Ric Flair won via figure four. Jericho didn't need to tap here, but got a nice pop for the crowd, and you know, at the end of the day, it made Ric Flair look good. I mean, at that point, Ric Flair, you know, he was never going to go for the world title ever again. But, you know, they still wanted to use him in some capacity. And this babyface run for him, it didn't really last long because we all know what led to it, you know, earlier in 2003, you know, the start of Evolution and everything. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it was just a good win for, you know, Ric Flair to have under his belt. How about you, Chris?
I thought overall it was I wouldn't say it was like a great match, but I think it was a good, you know, alright, you know, solid match. As you said, it wasn't, you know, one of Ric Flair's most memorable matches of all time, but, you know, you talked about how Chris Jericho, like, he tried basically doing the same dirty tactics, as Ric Flair was doing. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think there was at one point in the match that Chris Jericho even tried doing the figure four on Ric Flair.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. And then he's just looking at the crowd, and I remember the JR was like, oh, God, can you imagine if Ric Flair tapped out to his own move from Chris Jericho? We would never hear the end of it. You know, it was just, it was kind of like a funny little thing, but, you know, with that being said, it was good. You know, it was all right. At the time, I was kind of like, all right, why is Jericho losing to an old guy? But then again, it's Ric Flair himself. And, you know, Ric Flair was, relatively speaking, still getting, I think, somewhat still getting his feet wet, still wrestling back in WWE. You know, because I remember his first match back was, you know, 18, several months before against Taker. So, you know, it did what it needed to do. So.
Yeah, it was what it was. I mean, it wasn't like Jericho lost any heel heat from this match. I mean, he was still a top heel for the company, so it wasn't like he was like losing heel heat by losing this match for Ric Flair. He was still going to be a #1 heel for your company, or at least a #2 heel at that point in time. So it wasn't like it was hurting Jericho anything. Now the next match, it's actually a really good matchup, an underrated mid-card match in SummerSlam history between Edge and Eddie Guerrero. Now the whole point of this storyline was Edge recently, you know, he became a singles guy back in 2001. Christian betrayed him. Oh, my God, his brother. He won the King of the Ring. He won the IC title. Edge was definitely building up some mid-card success, that's for sure. But for some reason, I don't know why, Edge had to prove his toughness to a lot of the higher-ups. Like the WWE guys did not really view Edge as a solidified main eventer for them. I don't know why. If you just look at Edge, you could kind of think, oh my God, this guy may be a main eventer one day or one time. And so, you know, Edge, you know, when he was on SmackDown, they were doing really good things with him. I mean, at King of the Ring 2002, you know, he was the reason why Kurt Angle was all bald now and everything. He's the one that got the suck chance over on Kurt Angle. So you knew that they were going to do something with Edge really, really big. And this feud with Eddie Guerrero was a perfect feud, and this is a great mid-card feud, and they told a great story in this match. The whole match, Eddie was working on Edge's right shoulder, and we all know, you know, Edge uses the spear as his finishing move, and so everyone's like, oh, how can Edge hit the spear on Eddie? You know, the right shoulder, it's not working, it won't work for Edge, and you know, most of Edge's moves he couldn't hit because Eddie was working that right shoulder the whole match. This is a really great story told, you know, between Eddie Guerrero and Edge, and really, to be honest, I think it's an underrated mid-card match. I don't think people give it that much love, and Eddie Guerrero has always been one of the top 10 storytellers, at least to me, when it comes down to middle of the ring work. You look at a lot of Eddie's matches, and he just tells great story, has great facial expressions, great almost everything at what he did when it came to telling a story and selling moves. And this was a big match for Edge because at the time, Edge, you know, he was someone that the company, especially SmackDown, were probably looking to have, you know, as their next big guy. Not in 2003, but 2004, you could see possibly Edge being one of the huge favorites, maybe winning the Royal Rumble. So, you know, this was a big match for Edge, and it was a big, significant win in his career. You know, a lot of people will just say, well, Eddie was just like some random, you know, mid-carder at the time, but Eddie Guerrero, when he came to SmackDown, he was a tough guy, and not only that, before he got traded to SmackDown at this time, he was facing off against guys like The Rock and Austin and and stuff like that. So it was Eddie Guerrero was doing big things on Raw before coming to SmackDown. So it wasn't like a complete loss for Eddie Guerrero to feud with Edge. It was a good, decent feud, and I believe it led to like a backlot brawl, like on a SmackDown. I can't remember if it did or not.
I think it was.
Yeah, Eddie had two parking lot brawls, one with John Cena, one with Edge, and I can't remember. Yeah, that one was okay compared to the Edge one. But yeah, this was a good storytelling match, and Edge won, and it was a good way to show Edge's toughness. Like, no matter what, like, you can work on the shoulder and shoulder this whole match. You can beat this guy down, but somehow he's going to find a way to win. And it didn't hurt Eddie whatsoever because Eddie was mostly dominant in this match. And so it's a good match. It's a very underrated mid card match, in my personal opinion, when it comes down to it. What did you think about this match, Chris?
Well, as you already mentioned, it's pretty much, as you said, a pretty underrated match. I think a lot of people sleep on this match, like, oh, Eddie and Edge, okay, match. But overall, they had a nice feud. I believe also, because I remember this several years ago when I bought the 10th anniversary SmackDown. I believe one of their top matches was, Edge versus Eddie, and I believe it was like a ladder match. I believe.
Yes.
SmackDown, and it was a very, very good match. And it wasn't just because of Edge, because I know a lot of people say, oh, Edge is great, but like, it wasn't just because of Edge. It was because, again, as you said, it's not a broken record, but Eddie was such a great storyteller. He was such a good guy that you could work with mechanics in the ring, that he could, tell a story whether he was a heel, he was face, tweener, whatever. He did a very good job at that, and these two guys, would just put out a good match, put out a good story. It wasn't anything huge on the line. It wasn't for a title match. It wasn't for a championship. It wasn't for, as we found out later on down the years at a certain SummerSlam, it wasn't for a custody of a child.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a straight-up match. It was just Eddie wanting to prove that he was better than Edge. It was just Eddie saying, Edge is not tough. I'm going to kick this guy's ass. And that was it. And that's the one point that I want to bring up, Chris, because I'm telling you right now, it is amazing to me when I watch this pay-per-view. 3 of the opening matches, singles match, singles match, singles match. None of these matches are for motherfucking titles. There's no titles on the line whatsoever in these 3 opening matches. This was WWE today. I'll tell you what. Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, that's for the U.S. title. Ric Flair versus Chris Jericho, that's for the #1 contendership to one of the mid-card belts. And Edge and Eddie Guerrero would be for the Intercontinental title. That would be WWE today. WWE today can barely book one legit mid-card feud with no belts on the line. Like, here we have 3. We have 3 legit feuds, and these feuds would continue on. I mean, Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, we all know what happened afterwards. Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit became a tag team. Rey Mysterio teamed up with Edge. Eddie and Edge continued on after this event. So these were actually feuds that were continuing on or ended here at SummerSlam. Like, Ric Flair and Chris Jericho obviously ended at SummerSlam, but, that's what I'm talking about. Back in the day, these 3 matches, there's no titles on the line. These are just matches just to prove who are the better men. There's no U.S. title or IC title. Nowadays, for WWE to get a mid-card match, they have to hope like one of the titles is on the line, and that's just sad. And they can barely book one. Like, there's like 2 singles matches on SummerSlam this year. No titles on the line. It's just for personal beef between male superstars. Obviously, with the Divas, we know Stephanie and Brie. But between the male superstars, all we have is Dean and Seth and Jericho and Wyatt. But when you look at Dean and Seth have a stipulation. Do any of these 3 matches have a stipulation added to it? No, they're just straight-up matches. And then you look at, Jericho and Wyatt. Jericho and Wyatt's build does not even compare to some of the 3 builds in these opening matchups. So really, to be honest, the WWE/F at the time, man, they were on fire with building up stars and building up good storylines, man. I felt these 3 opening matches, they set the tone right for SummerSlam 2002, in my opinion.
Yeah, you didn't have, Edge just randomly come out there and say, oh, I want this to be a lumberjack match. And you said you're going wide, it's a lumberjack match.
Yeah, exactly. It was just they were just straight up matches, which I appreciate because that's something missing in wrestling nowadays. Like, everyone feels like we need to add a stipulation to make a match better. No, we don't. It's just better storytelling. And like I said, with Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, they told a really good story in that match. Ric Flair and Chris Jericho, okay story. And Edge and Eddie Guerrero, great story between them being told. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out there that, nowadays with WWE, everyone wants to talk about how, WWE sometimes is getting better with, executing feuds and storylines. Well, look at 2002. Tell me you would not take those 3 matches on your opening card of 2002 and want them on 2014 SummerSlam. I know I would. Hell, You know, I would like to see Zombie Eddie Guerrero versus Hurt Edge. I think that would be an amazing matchup. But anyways, we'll move on forward to the tag team title match between the Un-Americans taking on Booker T and Goldust. You know, this was actually an okay tag title match. You know, I never really found the Un-Americans to be that much of a heelish team. You know, even though, yeah, they were slandering US, but they're kind of generic, and I found them more hilarious than you know, actually threatening. But, you know, it was a good place for Lance Storm, pair him up with Christian and Test, who can obviously talk. Lance Storm can't talk with a damn. He's a really good wrestler, but he can't talk. Yeah, he can't talk with a damn. And they were taking on a hot tag team in Booker T and Goldust. So in all honesty, to me, this was just an okay match. I don't really have much to say about it. But, you know, this type of tag team match right here, you know, would benefit, you know, on any pay-per-view for the WWE. So I definitely felt this was an okay tag match.
Yeah, you know, I thought it was a pretty good tag team match, and I think one of the more, like, at least to me, one of my favorite, you know, comedy tag teams was kind of Goldust and Booker T, because, you know, Booker T, you know, we all know he kind of had this, you know, series, Can You Dig It, Sucker, you know, for God knows how long, and you have Goldust, who's just, you know, we all know it was more bizarre here, obviously, than he is now. I was just like, he kind of watered down. But, you know, the things that him and Booker T would do, you know, backstage, you know, I remember one point that, you know, I think Goldust gave him like a lightsaber or something. He's like, "Can you dig us?" Yeah.
And Darth Vader was there.
Yeah. It was just, they were just crazy. But overall, you know, with this match, it was, you know, with William Regal, obviously you're going to get a good match out of him. Lance Storm, as boring as he is on the mic, he is a good technician in the ring. And then you got, you know, Goldust, Booker T, are not too shabby at each other. It was an alright, you know, tag title match. It wasn't like the greatest tag team title match in SummerSlam history, I would say, but it was an alright match. So.
Yeah, they could definitely use it. Now, the next match is one of those matches that get forgotten in time, mainly because of what Chris Benoit did. But this is by far, to me, I don't care what any RVD fan says, this is RVD's best match he's ever had. Okay, this is RVD's best match ever between him and Chris Benoit for the Intercontinental title. You knew this was a great RVD match when RVD's ponytail got fucked up, when we had to see RVD's long fucking brunette hair, man. I literally said this is the best Rob Van Dam match. Rob Van Dam and Chris Jericho put on an awesome Intercontinental title match. I feel like this match, it does get forgotten when it comes down to it just because of what Benoit did, which is understandable. You know, you don't want to promote a murderer, for fuck's sakes. But, you know, this is a great match. This is a phenomenal matchup between Rob Van Dam and Chris Benoit. You know, at the time, RVD was one of the hottest things. You know, he showed, you know, how hot he was. He was getting bigger reactions than Austin sometimes when it came down with the invasion angle. I always remember that one random triple threat that they had, Austin, Angle, and Rob Van Dam. RVD had like the biggest reaction between Austin and Angle at the time, which was crazy to me. But, you know, RVD was such a hot character, and this was a big win for him, a big significant win at a SummerSlam pay-per-view, something that he definitely needed at the time. And, you know, you could also argue that RVD should have went on to win the World Heavyweight title later this year, but not with Triple H politics. You can't win with Triple H politics. But this was RVD's best match. Definitely not one of Chris Benoit's best matches. This is definitely just a good Benoit match. But when it comes down to RVD and RVD's standpoint, this has to be the best match in RVD's career. You know, everyone will say, oh, what about all these ladder and gimmick matches? Okay, sure, maybe those are a little bit higher up, but I'm talking about if you want to go straight one-on-one match, this is RVD's best match in his career.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, here you guys, you know, even though a lot of people look at, obviously, Benoit being a technician, and obviously he was a great technician in the ring, but he's also a little bit, I think he's a high flyer. Obviously, one of his signature moves being the headbutt. You know, I believe he also did the drop kick as well, and of course we all know RVD, Mr. Spider Monkey himself. But you know, I agree with you. You know, this was a pretty good intercontinental one-on-one championship match, and you know, it was. You know, the fact too, you know, you mentioned about the whole invasion thing the year before. You know, it's kind of funny how WWE tried booking him as a heel. Yeah, every single time he went out there, the crowd just loved him. I mean, you could not boo this guy. You know, basically, if you're at the arena. So. Yeah. But like you said, it was a pretty good, you know, Intercontinental Championship match. They were two pretty good workers. You know, RVD. I've always been the guy with RVD saying, okay, he could work well in the ring with certain people. But overall, not a bad IC title match.
Yeah, it's a good one for sure. I would definitely suggest anyone who hasn't seen this match to go check it out. I personally enjoy it. Like I said, if you don't think this is RVD's best, like, straight up match, then I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, I don't know how many times I have to watch RVD and Jerry Lynn. You know, RVD and Jerry Lynn is not that great, people. RVD and Benoit, this is a great match. Now, the next match was kind of just like a filler match, which I kind of understand. Badass Undertaker went on to face against Test, who was part of the Un-Americans, and he was fighting for good old America. And it's kind of funny, you know, it's kind of funny the parallels that we have with, you know, this pay-per-view and like the 2014 SummerSlam. You know, we have the American taking on the Un-American. You know, we have Jack Swagger taking on Rusev, you know, fighting for America, and Undertaker's fighting for America, taking on against Test. You know, it's kind of funny the parallels that you have from with this pay-per-view to the pay-per-view with the of 2014. But you know, this was just an okay match. Definitely Taker had to work with Test for whatever reason, because WWE likes to do the random Test push every once in a while. I swear, I think Test has gotten the most pushes out of any superstar in WWE history, dude. Like, if you look at this dude's history, let's take a time out of the SummerSlam review. Let's look at Test and the history of his pushes. Okay, in 1999, they were trying to push him to be like, you know, Stephanie's like wife, like they had Stephanie's husband, I should say. I mean, they had him like beat Shane at SummerSlam, you know, in 1999 to, you know, become, you know, her husband, and then afterwards they kind of just dropped him. Then randomly in 2001, 2000 TNA, they decided to do Test and Albert. Then in 2001, you know, he was randomly always going for the European title, and then he won like the gimmick battle royal, not the gimmick battle royal. He won the battle royal, last chance battle royal to keep his job with the WWF. Then in 2002, you know, he was with the Un-Americans, and then like you look at 2003, they kind of just like died down on Test a little bit. Then he kind of had a break.
They gave him Stacey.
Yeah, they gave him Stacey in 2003. Yep, and then afterwards, it was kind of like in 2007 they were featuring him as like the main threat to the ECW title. I mean, this guy has gone in push after push after push, and it's like it never amounted to anything. I mean, I never hated Test. I have no problem with Test. May he rest in peace. You know, I know a lot of people who do like Test, but I just don't understand why the WWE kept pushing this guy, man. Like, this guy had so many damn pushes in his career if you look at it. I mean, it's just a random Test push that ultimately led to nothing. Like, once again, Test gets pushed and it leads to nothing. No surprise there. Undertaker defeats Test in an okay match, but what do you think about that, man? Like, Test getting pushed so much.
Well, first I'll talk about Test, and I'll think of the match. The Test push was just like, for some reason, I always say this to other people, to me, Test was kind of like a little less fragile and younger version of, you know, I keep saying this, Kevin Nash. You know, he just had, obviously, with the big boot, and he just had that, you know, ability to perform pretty well in the ring. You know, but, you know, as you mentioned, he just got just randomly pushed, like, out of nowhere. Like, oh, look, he's not doing anything. Oh, he's the Intercontinental champion. It's like, to me, it was kind of like, in some sort of way, today's day of Kofi Kingston. Like, most of the year he does nothing. Oh, you're United States champion. Oh, lose it. Oh, does nothing. Oh, IC champion. I don't know. It's like, what the hell? But anyways, you know, I always liked Test. You know, I always thought it was good.
Well, I want to compare Test to Kofi Kingston, because at least Test would change his gimmick. Kofi's been the same with the same Jamaican music. I mean, say what you want about Test, at least he changed his gimmick from time to time when he ever got pushed. So it wasn't like Test was completely like Kofi. I always felt Test was like the lesser version of Triple H. Like, I really felt like Test, if Hunter was still like fucking being buried because of the whole curtain call thing, I believe we would be getting those great Test Rock matches instead of those great Rock and Triple H matches back in the good old days. So, you know, we kind of have to thank Triple H in a way. He kind of, I know there's a lot of Test fans out there. I don't know. I don't know if there is a huge amount of Test fans to the point where everyone wants to see him be like the guy, but you know, we kind of got to thank Triple H in a way. You know, like, for all the bad he's done, he did save us from Test being a main featured player for the WWE/WWF. So yeah, but what did you think about the match?
The match in itself was like, I mean, the year after this, obviously, you'd have Taker versus A-Train, which again felt like such a filler freaking match at SummerSlam, just like there. But you know, with here, it was like it just felt like filler. I mean, the way they put it on the card, I felt like maybe they should have put this the second to last match, because, you know, later on it felt like the crowd was dead after the second to last match actually happened. But it was an okay match. I mean, Taker did make Test look good, and, you know, Test did okay, but it was just like, it was just there. I mean, not much to say really.
Yeah, there's nothing really much to say about match itself. You know, it's just a filler match, and you're right. They could have used it to separate the two main event matches. All right, again. Now it's time to talk about the meats and bones of this pay-per-view. I mean, this show is really, really good, and actually, it's a great show. I should just say good. It's a great show. But you know, the meats and bones, what carried this show were the two main event matches, and one is my personal favorite. I think this is Triple H's best match in his career, in my opinion. Not Shawn's best match. I think Shawn has had a lot better matches in his career besides this one. But goddamn, Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and once again, Chris, another parallel to SummerSlam 2014, two former best friends feuding. Huh, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose? Huh? You know, kind of similar. I mean, this was no lumberjack match. I mean, oh, God.
Thank God. Thank God. Literally, thank God. Pun intended there.
It was an unsanctioned street fight. And this was a really great feud. Okay, so if anyone doesn't know how to start it, so pretty much Triple H recently came back from his quad injury that he suffered in early 2001. Remember the two-man power trip? That was like the huge thing. Him and Austin were going to be a tag team. And you could tell that the WWE/WWF wished they had, you know, Triple H during that invasion angle. I think he would have helped the invasion angle a lot more, you know, in my personal opinion. But Triple H came back from the quad tear, won the Royal Rumble, won the Undisputed Title at WrestleMania, and then afterwards, he kind of was just playing this lame duck babyface. Like, there was nothing much about him. He would just come out every week and be like, I am the game! And, you know, you're supposed to be excited that it's Triple H, and just accept the fact that it's Triple H out there, that it just wasn't working. Like, Triple H as a babyface wasn't working. So here's Shawn Michaels. Triple H stayed on Raw, you know, because Raw and SmackDown, the brand split. But the reason why Triple H stayed on Raw, because for some reason Triple H was one of those guys that could choose his brand, whatever brand he wanted to be on. He stayed on Raw because Eric Bischoff got his best friend, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, back on Raw, baby. And so Shawn Michaels came back. DX was reformed for one night, and then Triple H did the thing. He pedigreed Shawn Michaels. Oh, my God. And then afterwards, Triple H was kind of being heelish. He was kind of being, like sympathetic towards Shawn, but at the same time being a really, really big douchebag. And then all of a sudden, Shawn Michaels got attacked backstage. Boy, who was this mystery attacker? Oh, it was none other than Triple H. And so at SummerSlam 2002, Shawn Michaels, after 4 years being gone in the ring, he was ready. He was going to face Hunter in an unsanctioned street fight at SummerSlam 2002. The fucking best match on this card. It's one of the best SummerSlam matches. This match is just awesome. And, you know, Shawn Michaels, man, dude, been gone for 4 years, and he can still put on a performance like that. Phenomenal story being told. The thing about Triple H was this was his best match because this was like everything that you wanted from Triple H, man. Everything that made Triple H a great heel during his time in 2000, man. This was everything you wanted Triple H and much more. This is when Triple H was at the prime of his career, man. It sucks that his prime years were mostly wasted of Triple H just being a douchebag and burying everyone for people to not really appreciate Triple H during his prime, in my opinion. That's the only reason why a lot of people don't rank Triple H as high, because if Triple H wasn't being a douche, like, you know, a lot of people would respect Triple H a little bit more, but, you know, it is what it is. Triple H is a douchebag. We can't change that. So, you know, he didn't find Jesus like Shawn Michaels did. Shawn Michaels found Jesus later down the road. We all know that.
But he doesn't need to find Jesus. He made Jesus.
Yeah, he made Jesus. Triple H made Jesus. I guess Shawn Michaels is Jesus for Triple H. So, anyways, but this is a great fucking match. Like, if you guys don't know, like, before SummerSlam 2002, before I watched the show, I actually watched this match before the show, and then afterwards I watched it again. This is how great this match is. It's one of my favorite SummerSlam matches, if not the favorite SummerSlam match of all time. This is an awesome matchup, and you guys need to check it out. I mean, shit, man. This is how you do a best friend feud. Not the crap we're getting today with Rollins and Ambrose. That's good. That's a good feud. But it compares nothing to what Shawn and Triple H was, man. Shawn and Triple H was a thing of beauty. That video package, too, man. That video package. Shawn and Triple H are the best of friends. Like, they had to mention that 4 times just to prove that point, how good friends they were, man. But, you know, man, great fucking match, great fucking feud. Sadly, I always say this match I don't think gets a lot more credit because also Triple H and Shawn Michaels did go to feud a year and a half later, late 2003. Then later in 2002, they feuded over the World Heavyweight Title. So this match kind of does get diluted a bit, you know, just because of the fact that these two didn't stop feuding after this. They kept on fucking going. But
for years.
for years. 2 years we had to deal more with Triple H and Shawn Michaels feud. But what did you think about the match?
You know, you mentioned how they kept on saying, "Oh, they've been best friends. They were best friends." You know, I'll never forget Jim Ross calling. They were like brothers. They were closer than brothers. You know, I thought that kind of added a little touch into that feud, a little sparkle per se. But
oh yeah, that's the thing today, man. The WWE commentators, they don't do anything like that. They're more worried about plugging the network and
$9.99.
yeah, exactly. They're more worried about that than telling like the story of like what's going on in the feud. I mean, could you imagine Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, how much more animosity and how much more interesting that feud would be if it was just like Dean and Seth, they were like brothers in the Shield, and you show them doing all the emotional stuff that like Triple H and Shawn did. That would make the feud even much more better than like what we're getting now. I mean, what we're getting now is still good, but it's not great compared to what Shawn and Triple H was. But continue on what we were saying. I just want to make that point.
Yeah, you mentioned how this is Triple H's best match. I don't know if it's his best match, but I would say it was the top 5 best matches that he's ever had in his career. And the fact is before you even go into the storytelling and everything, I think it's amazing how, we having, and also you talk about parallel, how about also in some sort of way, where you're having, I don't know if this is somewhat of a comparison, but I guess you can kind of look at it this way. Between now with Stephanie and Brie, we all know Stephanie hasn't been in the ring in more than a decade. You look at you look at Shawn, who hasn't been in the ring in like 4 years. So you're thinking, okay.
So this match shakes 2 parallels from SummerSlam 2014.
So you look at it, and you're going, okay, how well is Shawn going to be in the ring? The whole back surgery and everything. The time off. Is he going to be rusty? What the hell is going to happen? He's in a freaking street fight, basically. What the hell is going to happen? So he goes out there, and of course God comes out there, and they just tell a great story. And I think that's the part about it. And people are saying, "Oh, this match was like half an hour long. What the hell?" It was. Like I think I looked it up, like 26 minutes or something, but It was 26 enjoyable minutes to me. You had practically everything in this match. I believe you had a table spot, you had a ladder spot, of course you had God's precious sledgehammer, you had some steel chairs, you had some steel. I mean, it was just insane of how big of a fight this was. I mean, WWE keeps mentioning to this day, "Oh, Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, it's gonna be a fight." Really, I don't think it's going to be much as a fight compared to Shawn Michaels of 2002, because they just tore each other apart. Shawn could barely. You think Shawn won the match, but the guy could barely stand after the match was over. So.
Also, what I liked about this match was that just a minor detail was that Shawn Michaels, he wasn't wearing ring gear. He was wearing like regular street clothes, because you didn't think Shawn would have a career, after this. Like everyone probably thought this was just a one-off match, and it was cool that Shawn Michaels was just dressed up like he was showing up for a fight. Triple H was of course in his ring gear because he was looking to wrestle with Shawn, but Shawn was there saying, "No, Hunter, we ain't wrestling the match. We're fucking fighting." Like you said. This is an unsanctioned fight. This ain't going against our records. This is a legit fight. And so, really, to be honest, I like that little detail that Shawn had. He had his hands wrapped as well. Just little stuff like that just really puts over the fact of how personal and great this feud was and how great this match was. This is by far one of the best SummerSlam matches of all time. And like I said, Triple H's best match of his career. Okay, so now we get into another match, which also has a parallel to SummerSlam 2014. We have Brock versus Rock. And this is definitely parallel to Brock versus John Cena. Once again, Brock is entering SummerSlam as the challenger, and he's fighting a champion. And the reason why it has a parallel is because at this time, The Rock wasn't really everyone's favorite people's champion. The Rock was no longer the man of the people because it seemed like Rock was, selling out to go to Hollywood. And, John Cena right now, I'm not saying John Cena's doing the same thing, but let's face it, John Cena is nowhere near the champion everyone wants to see. No one gives a shit about this goofball right now.
He's doing a movie right now, too.
Yeah, and he's doing a movie right now, too. Yeah, that's true. He's kind of quote-unquote selling out to Hollywood. But, the the Rock and Brock match, this was a huge match, you know, because Brock Lesnar debuted after WrestleMania 18, and he got the rocket ship up his ass. Like, they strapped on a jetpack, and they said, go to the fucking moon, Brock. That's what they literally did with Brock Lesnar in this match. They just, in his debut, man, they strapped on that jetpack. He was ready to go. He was going to face off for the WWE Championship. You were wondering when they were going to put the title on him. Now, for me personally, don't take this the wrong way, people. I never was the hugest Brock Lesnar fan in the world. That's just me. Like, there are so many other guys that I like more than Brock. That's just personal. I like Brock Lesnar in the UFC. That's my favorite Brock Lesnar because, like, he talks about riding his wife like a Harley Davidson, and he spins around in the octagon like a helicopter. You know, that's funny to me. But other than that, you know, Brock, I just never really got into him. And, you know, The Rock, I can understand at the time why fans were upset with them. Because, you know, the WWE was changing. I mean, this was the year where WWE changed to WWE. I mean, originally they were known as the World Wrestling Federation. Get the F out, as WWE used to say in their stupid little commercials that I just personally hated so much. You know, they said, get the F out and move on to WWE. You know, this was now WWE brand. This was no longer the World Wrestling Federation. It was becoming World Wrestling Entertainment. One of their best superstars of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he picked up this ball and went home. You know, 2002 is a forgettable year for Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you're a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, you hate the year 2002 because that was a year where Austin was pretty much treated like, you know, not as an important factor, and even Austin himself has
again another parallel. I hate to interrupt you, but another parallel, kind of like CM Punk. Took his bag and dropped.
Yeah, exactly. CM Punk and Austin, you know, kind of similar parallel to, like, the year that they're having. Except 2002, Chris, actually had good pay-per-views throughout the year. 2014 has really only had one good pay-per-view, in my opinion. I know a lot of people have been impressed with a lot of the pay-per-views this year, but for me personally, the best one has been WrestleMania 30, man. And it doesn't even come close. Like, WrestleMania 30 was a good show, like good to great show. On terms, but like everyone's like calling Extreme Rules a great show, and I'm like, how can you think Extreme Rules is better than WrestleMania 30? You know, people are calling freaking your Payback a great show. How can you compare Payback to freaking WrestleMania 30? And then, like, you know, Money in the Bank being a good show, nah, man. And then Battleground, man. Let's not talk about Battleground. I'll say this about this year's pay-per-view. I'll say this about this year's pay-per-views. None of them are as worse as Capital Punishment. That's all I really got to say about it. None of them as worse as Capital Punishment 2011. Okay, I'll say that about this year's pay-per-views. Oh God, they really screwed the pooch on R-Truth. One day I'll review Capital Punishment again, and I'll rip that pay-per-view to shreds. But
Alex Riley in the Miz.
Anyway, yeah, Alex Riley in the Miz. Poor A-Rye. He never was the same after that. But anyways. This match, like, you know, 2002, like I said, most of the Attitude Era fans, I could understand why they were pissed off at The Rock for leaving the company. I mean, Austin just left, you know, WWF was changing to WWE, and now here's your boy, you know, their last people's champ, D-Rock, and he's leaving. He's leaving the company pretty much to make movies. You sold out. You sold out. You know, that's what the fans were chanting, and everyone just wanted to see Brock Lesnar win the championship. And, you know, as for the match itself, Brock versus Brock, it was a good title match. I would say it's a good title match, definitely deserving of the main event. You know, Shawn and Hunter, you know, much better match. That was the match of the night, one of the best SummerSlam matches of all time. But Rock versus Brock was definitely, you know, a really, really good match. And not to take away from it, I mean, if this was on any other SummerSlam, it would steal the show, in my personal opinion. But this was a good matchup, wasn't bad, and the WWE at the time, they made the right decision because the iron was hot for Brock Lesnar, and this is another parallel to 2014. There's a guy named Roman Reigns, and whether you like Roman Reigns or not, I don't care if you like him or not, but you could argue, you know, the WWE should strike while the iron is hot and get Roman Reigns, you know, the WWE Championship before people start to lose complete interest in this guy, you know? But instead, they want to do Cena versus Brock, which I guess is cool. But, you know, Brock Lesnar, you know, a guy who was only in the company for 5 months, people, you know, he won the WWE Championship against a dude in The Rock who was like one of their biggest megastars. And what better way to make a superstar than have him beat a megastar like The Rock at a Big Four pay-per-view like SummerSlam? Good title match, right guy goes over here, and, you know, this led to Rock becoming, you know, one of his best characters, Hollywood Rock. You know, Hollywood Rock was always entertaining to me.
Yeah, as you said, this was a pretty good match. I kind of felt bad for both Rock and Brock here because they had to follow up, you know, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, which, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think WWE could have done a better job in placement of the final three matches. But it was a very good, solid match. I mean, I remember watching it as a kid when I was like 11 years old. I was a huge Rock fan, and I freaking hated Lesnar with a freaking passion, man. And obviously when Brock won, I was like, no, but that's for sure. But it was a good match. Obviously, Rocking was still green as hell. And I mean, people want to say how bad Brock is on the mic now. Go back to freaking 2002 and see how bad he was then. Like, there's a reason why he only said like 2 words, and Paul Heyman basically said the rest of his speeches because, obviously Paul Heyman's a very good mic worker, and Brock Lesnar at the time, not so much by any means, but and that's another thing that you could put parallel to. I don't get that far with the parallels, but like, you look at Roman Reigns, you're saying how he's hot as hell right now. He's becoming a future star. A lot of people complain that he's not very good on the mic, so obviously you get them two together. But overall, all right match, all right WWE Championship match. It did what it needed to do, sending Rock home to go do movies, and it headed Rock to be what looked like was going to be the main guy, or the face.
Yeah, the face of the WWE. He was going to be the face, man. Like Brock was the chosen one, man. He was going to be the guy that was going to carry the load of the WWE. Obviously, in 2004, Brock Lesnar said, "Sayonara, WWE. I'm done with this shit. I'm going to go fight I'm going to go play for the Minnesota Vikings, and then afterwards go fight for the UFC." But it was the right decision at the time. I mean, if you looked at Brock Lesnar, he was a legit fucking badass, man. Like, this dude would fuck shit up, and in all honesty, they made the right move giving the title to Brock Lesnar at this time. And that's why I'm saying, like, Brock Lesnar now winning the title in 2014, isn't that weird? It's 12 years later, and Brock Lesnar once again is in the SummerSlam main event, and motherfucking goofball Cena, he's still in the SummerSlam main event, just facing off against Brock Lesnar. So it's just, it is what it is at the end of the day. But, 2002 SummerSlam, a lot of fans, if YouTube was around today, I think a lot of fans would look at this show a little bit differently. Even though this was a great show and everything, I think a lot of fans would shit on the show that Brock Lesnar, was, so push so heavy to the WWE Championship. And it wasn't like, Brock Lesnar, and I always say this with Roman Reigns, why they probably are not giving him the belt right away, is because Brock Lesnar, it wasn't like he was a big ratings getter. Like, if you look at the history of 2003 SmackDown ratings, it wasn't like Brock Lesnar was changing SmackDown's ratings all that much. I mean, he definitely had moments where the ratings would pop, but so does Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has the moments where his ratings pop when he's on the TV screen. So, in all honesty, when it comes down to it, you got to think to yourself here, like, hey, how come they can't just push the new star right now? I mean, the WWE used to do this all the time. WWE has the ability to make stars in a matter of days. That's the ability of the WWE. That's what makes the WWE such a successful company. They can make stars just like that. At a snap of the finger, they can make some guy into a star. I guarantee you, they can go to Heath Slater. They can they can give Heath Slater the best gimmick in the fucking world. They can make him a star in a matter of minutes, man. That's how good the WWE is at making stars, especially in 2002. In 2002, they could grab any motherfucker on that roster and make him into a legit main event star. That's how good the WWE used to be back in the day. So, to be honest here, it was the right decision to give Brock Lesnar the championship. But overall, SummerSlam 2002, this is one of the best pay-per-views. In the 2000 to 2009 history, one of the top 5 pay-per-views. I would argue this is a top 20 pay-per-view of all time. This is definitely a top 5 SummerSlam of all time. When you look at the end of the day, a great pay-per-view overall, and definitely one I suggest you guys go and watch, because this pay-per-view, it's an easy watch. All the matches go by fast, and all of the matches are super duper long. Not a lot of rest holds and all that other stuff. It's a nice 9-match card that you can just sit back and enjoy. Crack open a cold one, have yourself some fun, watch SummerSlam 2002. That's all I gotta say about that. Chris, what do you have to say about SummerSlam 2002?
Oh, you pretty much got the gist of it. I mean, it's a really good, pay-per-view. You could watch it for $9.99 on the WWE Network. But seriously,
yeah.
It's a very good, solid pay-per-view. And I know, during this whole session that we've compared it to what SummerSlam is to this day. And it's just kind of sad that it's like, okay, 12 years is still obviously a long time. But when you still compare 12 years ago from, you had all these matches where you were like, okay, every match basically, maybe other than like one or so, they actually mean
Yeah,
something. They actually have importance to it. Look at today's time
yeah.
where it's like you'll have two or three meaningful matches, a couple of filler matches, and it's just like, LOL, you're there. So it's just,
Yeah,
it is what it
exactly.
is.
And a lot of these matches, they need the title just to make them feel important. I mean, I'll bring up a mid-card match, for example, Miz and Dolph Ziggler. Like, really, that match needs the IC title to make that match feel important. It's not like Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio. These guys need the IC belt to make this match feel like a big deal. I mean, Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, there's no title on the line, yet that match felt just as important as, as Eddie Guerrero and Edge. Mid-card matches felt important even without the title on the line. I mean, actually, Chris Benoit and RVD, if I want to use the example correctly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, WWE could do that nowadays, where mid-card matches don't need to feel like, they're just waste of space filler. They could actually be as important as a title match for the thing. SummerSlam 2002, it's a great show. You got to check it out. It's one of the best. Thank you, Chris, for coming in and doing this with me. If you guys are watching this via the archives, comment down below what you guys thought about the live review, if you guys like the live review format. I only do this for certain pay-per-views, and I just figured that this pay-per-view deserves a live review and live discussion about it. So if you were watching this live, thank you very much. You could always have left your comments on what you thought about the pay-per-view as we were going on live. Maybe next time we'll get more comments going in, from what we were saying, if you guys agreed with what we said about certain matches on the card. So SummerSlam 2002, really, really good show. Really great show, I should say. One of the best pay-per-views you will ever watch in the modern era of the WWE. That's for damn sure when it comes down to it. And the 2000 era of the WWE, one of the best pay-per-views ever when you look at it. And what else I was going to say? Oh, yeah. And if you're watching this via the archive, make sure you comment down below what your thoughts of the live review. I won't be doing a classic pay-per-view review next Sunday because SummerSlam is next Sunday, and I don't review classic pay-per-views on days actual WWE and sometimes TNA pay-per-views show up. So don't expect a live review or any classic pay-per-view review next Sunday. But 2 Sundays from now, Night of Champions is around the corner, and so I decided I'm going to review the first ever Night of Champions, Vengeance Night of Champions 2007. That will be my next classic pay-per-view review on my channel. Chris, where can these fine people find you at? I already have your YouTube down below, but plug whatever else you need to plug.
Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's just the same name. Just look up Chris Phoenix. That Twitter handle is right then and there. And that's pretty much it. Not much, really.
All right, then. You guys know where to find me. Follow me on Twitter at ChaseOver68. Check out my website, chillinwithchase.com. Remember, guys, give this video a big old thumbs up. Check out my boy Chris on everything. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the WWE Monday Night Raw review. If you guys haven't already, check out my Alberto Del Rio video. I talked about his destiny of him being fired, and I'm glad Del Rio slapped that fucking coworker. Fuck racism, man. That's all I got to say about that. Fuck racism. Del Rio fucking did the right thing. If you guys are watching this via archive, just know this was filmed at August 10th, 2014. So that's why we're talking about Del Rio for some of you guys that are just watching this. But thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are all awesome. And make sure you guys leave your comments and love and support down below. I'll see you all next time. Peace.